Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Aragon. So today I'd like to amusingly go over how you can obtain a maximum amount of movement speed as possible. And this is going to be with Module 21, which launches on PC tomorrow. With the change to the experience and the progression of our characters, they went and removed a lot of sources of the experience bonus from like Azure's Guild Boon, and they've gone and replaced them with these movement speed bonuses. So let's go and make a build and see how much movement speed we can obtain by stacking, let's say, all of those different sources. Now I am unfortunately missing a few bits of pieces here and there, and I'll go over them while I'm going over the ones I do have, and we'll total up how much movement speed we can get. And we can see if we can beat this, let's say 140% from our mount movement speed. Originally you all start out as a base movement speed, and mounts will give that extra 140% along with an additional 20% from the mount speed bonus. So we need to try and get above 160% to be able to move faster than any mount possible within the game. Let's see if it's possible. Firstly, I'd like to give a huge thank you to all of my supporters who have joined me as a channel member. They really help to keep my channel going. So initially we have our Azures. In our utility slots, we can slot those rank 15 Azures, giving 5% additional movement speed. And traditionally in a normal build, you'll have 5 of those utility slots in our headpiece, arms, feet, neck and waist. However, you can go and get the Make Us Signet, which is a ring, and it will have a utility slot. I currently don't have it, and I wasn't really bothered to go and farm that out on this character, so we're just going to have to skip over an additional 5% there. Then we go to our ability scores, and we have our dexterity, and increasing this score, you'll also increase your movement speed by a quarter for every point you add on. So we have a total of 6.5% from there. Then we jump over to our boons, and in our campaign section here we have Marathon Runner. Putting 5 slots into there will give us 12.5% movement speed. Then we have our Guild Stronghold, and now instead of having the extra XP bonus, we now have an extra 10% movement speed. That is of course if that boon structure is maxed out. Then we go to our mounts, and in our stable we have 3 Gladiators Guile, and they'll stack on top of each other, but halving the return on them. So the first one gives us that 10%, the second one gives us 5%, which is half of 10%, and the last one will give us 2.5%, which is half of that 5% from the second one. So we get a total of 17.5% move speed from our Gladiators Guile. Then we also have this Mount Collar, which if you get it to Mythic, which I don't really advise, you want to prioritize on other ones that would help you with your roll. Then if you go to your current tab in our Mount Equip Power, you could slot in Fast Striding, giving you another 6% movement speed. Then if we do go and jump back to our gear, we could go and farm out these Elemental Evil Howling Weapons, and they would give us the bonus of an extra 50% movement speed for 2 seconds, albeit that's not a lot, so you can kind of consider this out of your build since you're only going to be able to get this to proc off every 10 seconds, and you're going to have to either dodge, block, sprint or shadow slip to gain this bonus. Then you could slot in these new boots. I don't currently have them, but they are from in the Vault of Stars hardcore. You have the Fairy Steps, and that would give that extra 7% movement speed as long as you've no teammates within 30 feet of you. Then we'll jump to our companions. Now with our newest introduction to the Zen market, we got the bundle of the Companions of the Hall, and we have Catibri in there, so you would have her in one of those slots, I believe utility, and then 3 of the other ones to give 75% of the extra movement speed from Catibri. You would then have an additional 6.56% movement speed from her, and then you would slot in the Archmage for another 7.5% movement speed. You can see I don't currently have either of those, and I wasn't really bothered to go and invest that just to show to you guys. I do want to get that companion bundle, but I'm waiting still for my Zen to exchange. Plenty of time to purchase it. So you would have the Archmage in one of these slots, and you'd have Calibre along with 3 of the other companions of the hall. And you would gain an additional just over 14% movement speed from these companion equip powers. Then we go to our buff food, and you can see down here I have Sample Cades, which is the guild food, gives a 5% extra movement speed, and we have the new Light Wine, which will give it an additional 5% movement speed, that being another 10%. So with all of these bonuses, what I currently have slotted in and what I've gone over, we currently have a movement speed bonus of 113%. That is crazy. We're pretty close to that 140%. We're only missing, what, 27%? And I'm sure we can find that in other areas. Now, if you went and added up those things I did go over, yes, we would be a bit short of this 130% because we do gain an additional 20% from our powers. Now, this will be dependent on your class. The first one is universally all there for those melee classes, the Marathon Runner. It's an extra 10% movement speed when out of combat. The Paladin has this, and so does the Barbarian. I believe the Rogue also has it, but I'm not too sure. And then you also have some class features. Most classes again have this, giving an extra 10% movement speed. You can see this one is dependent on your stamina. So this on the fighter would be your shield. Then additionally, but this is tied to the fighter, we have this momentum. And it will give us an extra 20% movement speed after running for 2 seconds. So that's pretty easy to get procced off. As you can see here, when you get those particle effects, you can see I have that momentum active. So we're running at lightning speed and getting that movement speed boosted all the way to 133% there. Now, additionally on the fighter, you could use a power into the fray, getting another 20%. And this is when we get more movement speed than the base speed of gallop for our mounts, being 140%. Let's go and proc that off. First we get our momentum for running for that 2 seconds. Then we go and cast our Into the Fray, and we look at our movement speed, and we can see we have 153%. That is crazy. However, we are just shy of a few points to get over that 160. Because when you go with your mount and you slot in this mount speed boot, you would then have 160, and you'd want to beat that then as well, so you can be faster than any other player in any zone. In order to give us that extra bonus, we would, yes, have to get the Catti-Brie or the Archmage. The Archmage, if you don't have it already, it was a promotional giveaway, and if you don't have it, then you just don't have it. You could run with this Chultan Targar and be in combat, and you'd gain that bonus for 10 seconds. You could also be a half orc like I am right now, and you would gain this bonus of 10% movement speed for 3 seconds when you enter combat. Then this is more than 15% extra movement speed just by entering combat with these two bonuses. Alternatively, as I've already mentioned, you would have Catti-Brie and you would have your Archmage. Now, if you go over to the Barbarian, you have your sprint power as your left shift, and that sprint gives you 100% movement speed. So yeah, you could use that and you gain a ton of movement speed right there already just with the Barbarian sprint. Being then at what I have right now, you could have this 113 on a Barbarian plus 100%, that's 213, and you're already faster than any mount in the game. Now, most definitely, a good few of these bonuses are not really useful and not practical in terms of sacrificing your own damage for more movement speed. However, when you're running through a dungeon and you just want to clear enemies as quickly as possible and get to the boss, then you might want to slot in and prioritize movement speed over some offense statistics. But generally, let's say your mount equip power, you wouldn't really use fast striding, let's be honest. You wouldn't use any companion equip powers again to give you movement speed. It's just really not worth it. But other than that, you're most definitely better off with slotting these Azures in than, let's say, your Darks. Your Dark enchantments give you next to no Forte. It's only 300 Forte, which is 0.3%. And that, when you translate it to those other statistics, is even less. So you gain about maybe max of 1% more damage from having 5 rank 15 darks, where you would gain a 25 boost in movement speed. That's crazy. And it's definitely something I'm going to be using instead of darks. So hopefully this was at least somewhat insightful and perhaps amusing to see how fast you can actually run on a character in Neverwinter right now. Faster than your mounts. So if I presented this well, consider leaving the video a like, and if you're new around here, consider subscribing. We'll see you guys around. Bye for now.